Hello there, and welcome to the UPLC-II Making Settings training video. Today, we will be covering the following topics: types of settings, changing UPLC settings, and finally, submitting or discarding changes. At the end of this video, we will provide phone and email contact information if you have any further questions. For the remainder of the video, I will say UPLC, but this will encompass UPLC and UPLC-II unless noted. Please note, before powering up and making software settings, it is recommended that hardware jumper settings be made on the I/O module, power supply module, and backplane per your engineering department's direction. There are three basic types of software settings in a UPLC. Instantaneous. These are admin settings that are not stored in the UPLC settings file and take effect immediately without need to submit from a settings page. Optional communication protocols that are saved in their own separate settings file. And finally, UPLC settings located under the settings button that can be saved to a settings file and require the user to submit for them to take effect, with one minor exception. The first type of settings, instantaneous, are located in the admin section. Press the admin button located in the main menu. This will bring up the admin web page. At the top of the page are four tabs. The first tab, User Admin, has specific UPLC settings pertaining to the front panel access, user session timeout, and Ethernet mode. Changing any of these four settings will immediately change the settings to the connected UPLC. On earlier models of UPLC, there may not be a rear Ethernet mode. These settings are not saved in the UPLC settings file and are unique to the connected UPLC. The Show Users and Add Users buttons are used to manage user accounts for the connected UPLC. This is covered in the Web Page Basics training video. The second type of settings are optional communication protocol settings. These are located under the Protocol tab. If either IEC 61850 or DMP protocol options are installed, then the respective settings are managed here. This UPLC has DMP installed, so this is where the settings may be viewed, changed, submitted, loaded, or saved. The DMP settings are saved in a separate XML file from the UPLC settings file. Managing these communication protocols will be covered in detail in a future training video. The last type of settings are the UPLC software settings. These are accessed by pressing the Settings button. This brings up the UPLC Settings web page. At the top of the page, there are 7 tabs. Please note that the Settings web pages are application-specific in that an on-off directional comparison mode will provide web page settings specific to that application versus an FSK Direct Transfer Trip mode. For example, the Test Settings tab here shows Trip Test for FSK mode and would show Checkback for On-Off mode. The first 4 tabs will take you to the UPLC Settings, General, Logic, Input-Output, Testing, Trip here, but Checkback if you were in On-Off mode. This tab also may be grayed out if the option is not purchased. Please refer to your UPLC catalog number. The 5th tab, RF Configuration, will take you to a read-only web page that shows the RF configuration, 2-wire or 4-wire, 4-wire is shown, and the backplane jumper settings. The 6th tab takes you to the Load Save Configuration web page that is discussed in the UPLC Managing Configuration training video. The 7th and final tab takes you to the Submit web page. It is here where you can submit or discard changes made to the settings. It is also here where the one settings exception mentioned previously is located. If you do not have iRig connected, it is here where you can change the system date and time. If iRig is connected, then you will only be able to adjust the year. The date and time settings are not instantaneous nor saved in the UPLC settings file. Once you make a change, you must press the Submit Date and Time button for the change to be programmed into the connected UPLC. If you exit this page without submitting the date and time, then it will not be programmed. Now we will discuss how to change UPLC settings. To modify settings, press the Settings button. You will notice that items in blue are for reference only and indicate either the current hardware jumper settings of the UPLC or the current receiver sensitivity setting based on your last receiver calibration. Hardware jumper states are monitored by the web page so that you do not have to pull out a board to see the jumper settings. To make any changes to general settings, you will need to press the Change Settings button at the bottom of this page. Now on this page, I can make changes to General Settings 1. You will notice that some tabs, such as General Settings and I/O, have multiple pages underneath the tab. This is General Settings 1. If you wish to see General Settings 2, you must press Continue, which brings you to the General Settings 2 page. Pressing the back button will bring you back to General Settings 1. Continue will take you to the next page, which in this case would be the Logic tab. Going back to the General tab, if I want to make a change, I will again press the Change Settings button. Now I will change the System ID 1 to read Ametek. If I do not press the Continue button, this change will not be recorded and saved in the web page. If I go to any other tab or main menu item, in this case I will go to the Logic tab and back to the General tab, you will notice that this change is not reflected here on the web page. I will now change ID 1 back to Ametek. And press the Continue button. Now we get a red change pending bar at the top, and you will notice that the System ID 1 has changed to Ametek. When you get a red changes pending bar, this means that changes have been saved to the web page settings but have not been programmed into the connected UPLC. As you can see here, the System ID 1 is Ametek in the web page General Settings, but still reads Customer Name in the information section at the top of the screen. Pending changes must be submitted under the Submit tab to program the connected UPLC. Here on the General Settings 2 page, notice that some settings have pull-down menus, such as the transmit bandwidth, while others have fields where you can type in numerical values, such as the transmit frequency. The fields with numerical values have an asterisk next to them. If you hold the mouse cursor over these fields, a small pop-up window with ranges for those fields will appear. In this case, the transmit frequency range is 30 to 535 kHz, or the transmit reflected power alarm is 1 to 100%. To make a change, go to the field and type in a percentage number, such as 10. Again, if you do not press the Continue button, the transmit reflected power alarm change will not be saved. I will press Continue, go back to the General tab, and you will notice that the transmit reflected power alarm percentage has been updated. Going to the Logic tab, there is one thing of note. There is a field called Trip Test for FSK and Checkback Test for on-off units. This field is factory defaulted as disabled and must be enabled for Trip Test or Checkback Test to operate, even though you may have programmed the test settings under the Test tab. We are going to change this setting. Press the Change Settings, change the Trip Test to Enable, press Continue. Going back to the Logic tab, it is enabled, and you will notice that it is now enabled for Checkback Trip Test. Now we will go to the Input-Output tab. Input-Output is divided into 3 sections: Inputs, Trip Duty Outputs, Low-Level Outputs. Pressing these buttons will take you to the current states of each of these sections. You will notice that the items in blue are reflecting hardware jumper settings on the I/O board. Normally open in this case, 1 at max load in this case. Items in blue cannot be changed from the web page and must be manually selected via jumpers on the I/O board. The hardware jumper states are electronically monitored so that you do not have to pull out a board to see the jumper settings. To make changes to these settings, press Change Settings. This will take you to the settings page that you are currently looking at. In this case, low-level outputs. Each of the selections in this page are drop-downs: Guard, De-energized state normally closed, Action normal or pulsed. Again, the blue items reflect hardware settings. Pressing the back button will take you back to the previous page, which was the low-level outputs. If I select Inputs, Change Settings, now I can change the input settings. Continue will take me to the next settings page, which is the Trip Duty Outputs. Pressing Continue again will take me to the low-level output settings page. Again, These buttons, back and continue, are for navigation. If you do not press continue, any changes that you make on the current page will not be saved on the web page. And finally, we are going to discuss how to submit or discard changes. To submit your changes and program the UPLC, go to the Settings button. Go to the Submit tab. Below you have two choices: Submit changes, discard changes. Submit changes will program the connected UPLC. Discard changes will discard all changes that have been made during this session and revert back to the current UPLC state. So we are going to go ahead and submit changes. The red bar is now gone, and the changes that we made have been made effective. If you choose to discard changes by pressing the Discard Changes button, you will get a pop-up window making sure you want to discard the changes. Press OK. Setting changes discarded, restoring earlier settings. We are now back to the current state of the connected UPLC. That is it for this training session. I hope you found this session informative. If you have any questions regarding UPLC or UPLC-II, please contact us at the following phone numbers or email. The sales email may be used to contact Ametek for quotes or ordering new equipment. The repair email may be used to contact Ametek for repair of existing equipment. And the applications email may be used to contact Ametek concerning product setup or system applications. You may also go to our website for further information. This link may be found in the video description below.